All right, everybody. We have Natalia here joining us on a lovely, lovely Thursday afternoon in Tahoe. And she just moved back to Tahoe.
Yeah,
I love it when people come back to Tahoe because it's uh it's it's the best place in the world to be. And I
it
always say
is.
like to people that move away is like the mountains aren't going to crumble down and the lake isn't going to dry up anytime soon. Now it's like, well, hopefully in our lifetime that doesn't happen. Like
Yeah.
on the way we're going, it might. Some of the nightmares I have is like the Sacramento Valley is like has a pipeline and it's draining Tahoe to, for all their drinking water and all the almonds that are grown down in that valley.
Oh
That's
no.
just a nightmare. But
Yeah.
we're going to talk today about Mind's Eye and Natalia's experience with Mind's Eye, and I have learned that she is a super mom, a super
Thank
wife,
you.
a super human, a super person. And I think she was all those things before she took Mind's Eye. But we want to learn about your experience of what brought you to the curiosity of microdosing with psilocybin and how that process has gone for you, and if you had any obstacles in your human experience that you may have seen or heard about the benefit that microdosing could bring to your life. And I always like to just reiterate that many people think that we have problems in our life, and they're really not problems, they're just obstacles, and the obstacles are the path, right? Like there are no obstacles in the path, the obstacles are the path. And the human experience is filled with obstacles, and we all have anxiety and depression and addictions and neurosis and triggers and all those things. And I am not a father, I don't have children, I love children. However, I know that that's a tough job, and being a
Yeah.
mom is a tough job because I have a mom and I know who I am and I know I'm tough. So let's talk about your experience through the process of Mind's Eye. And if I believe you're doing a little bit of, some mirroring guidance, mentorship
Hmm.
work with someone, which is also huge because
Yes.
our vision statement at Medicine Box is equal parts medicine and mentorship to create full health sovereignty. So, yeah, you can take the microdose and do it yourself, but having that combined with mentorship and guidance is really the where you get those exponential effects.
Yeah.
So,
It's been really helpful.
yeah, would love to hear about your experience and take it away.
Uh, so before Mind's Eye, I would say over probably the last 6 to 8 years, I've really been like consciously trying to work on myself in terms of like my anxiety and my frustration. And I can be kind of like quick triggered. And if I get upset or angry, it like tends to linger. Um, and so I've tried other supplements and um, that kind of thing, always natural stuff, never pharmaceutical, but nothing just really hasn't worked. I'm like, okay, I'm just, drinking this extra drink or taking this extra capsule now.
Yeah.
And then I have a really good friend who told me that she did a Mind's Eye protocol and introduced me to Medicine Box. Um, I'm so sorry, my kids are home with me.
All right. It's this
Uh,
added effect to see how you
Come here, you have to
handle
be
this
quiet.
situation.
You have to be quiet.
See how
Uh,
your responsiveness versus the reactiveness can help.
yeah.
Perfect.
Um, and that's actually a huge thing I've been working on is being more responsive instead of reactive. And yeah, go find your bottle. Um, so I've been doing it's been just over a month, and I've noticed how much better my mood has been overall. And my husband actually has said multiple times, like, "Wow, you actually have a lot of patience, and you've been in such a great mood lately." Um, ask Sissy to help you, please. Okay. Sorry, I'm just gonna get
No
her a
worries.
bottle really quick.
This is great. This is what we're talking about, being super mom, super
Yeah.
micro, super microdosing mom.
Um, and so it definitely like it's not perfect, right? I still things still come up and I still have to work through them, but I'm feeling like I can maintain my inner calm.
Mm.
Whereas before it would just completely disappear and I would just be mad and huff and puff and be frustrated. Allie, where is your bottle? We're on the bottle hunt. Sorry. Um, and so it's really been a huge like emotional growth for me.
Mm.
Um, I feel like I actually am am more of an adult rather than like an impulsive toddler where I'm like mad
Ooh,
and upset and just destroying everything in my path. Um,
more of an adult and less of an impulsive toddler. I like that.
yeah,
I'm gonna steal
I can
that
like take steal it.
because I was being an impulsive toddler this morning with work stuff. Running a business is can sure
uh,
make you an impulsive toddler sometimes.
yeah. I'm much more conscious of like of of my emotion. Like, okay, that upset you, but if you continue to be upset, it's not going to help the situation at all. It's almost like my subconscious mind is able to connect and talk with my conscious mind,
Mm.
like uh, more directly, I
So
guess.
is that the subconscious mind being able to talk to the conscious mind?
Or
Is
like,
that in the space of pausing without reacting? So pause,
uh,
and then it's like, oh, I'm gonna get this download of like how I can maybe do something different and carve a new
yeah,
path.
or like that little voice in your head actually like I can listen to it, whereas like I would get so flustered and so frustrated that I would just like I'm frustrated, I'm upset, this is what's happening. Whereas like I can now like listen to that little voice in my head or like something has clicked and I can be like, okay, like yeah, you're upset, yeah, you're frustrated, but that's not gonna help anything. So like take a deep breath,
Yeah,
um, you know, pause,
yeah,
and I'm just able to like move through those challenging moments with so much more ease than I ever have before. And not to say that they don't happen. Like I have two
of
kids and a
course.
dog and a husband, and and if anything, it has definitely made me a better mom, um, like a more patient mom, 100%. Um, and not that I am not a sympathetic person, but I definitely have become more sympathetic. I think, especially to like the little things where like my 4-year-old falls and bumps her knee, and I'm like, yeah, whatever, you're fine. But then I'm like,
you'll
okay,
get
yeah, that probably
you
really did hurt.
you'll
You're
get over it.
4, of course it hurts. Yeah. So I'm able to like just be a little bit more present in those snippet moments um throughout my day and in my relationship with my children, and kind of slow down and really truly listen to their feelings rather than just like, okay, yeah, you're sad, here's a book, or okay, yeah, you're sad, like let's sit down and read this book together and
Mm.
have a moment, like take 5 minutes out of our getting ready in the morning routine. Okay, we're 5 minutes late, it's not a big deal. Whereas before I'd be like, oh my god, we're 5 minutes late, like anxiety.
Frantic,
um
busy body,
yeah,
busy mind, right? Like,
exactly.
the subconscious of like, okay, like, maybe that happened to you when you were a child and maybe,
Yeah.
you were late all the time because your mom or dad or however you were brought
Oh,
up,
my mom is still always late.
yeah, just always late. And like that may have made you feel guilty or embarrassed or awkward. And now you don't want to do it. And then you're like, we can't be late because if we're late, everyone's judging us and the stuff that goes on. That's the subconscious stuff. Now you're just like, whatever. We'll be late for five
Yeah,
minutes. At least I'm taking like time with my children to connect. And
right,
there's this great
exactly.
phrase that I heard from a friend that has children, and he has younger children now, and he has older children from
I'll tell
another
you later.
lifetime. And I find this fascinating where he says it's better to um, connect than correct. Like take the time to connect with the child where fall
I
down
love
or
that.
you want the child wants to read for 5 minutes and make you 5 minutes late, instead of correcting that, like, no, no, we have to go now, you can't read, like connect
Right.
with them. And that is a new, interesting parenting technique that I certainly don't think I had. It was all about correction, right? And like
Right.
correcting, like, you do as I say, not as I do. And so things like that. So back to the mom thing, you mentioned it makes you a better mom, so like a little bit of duality here, like the opposite, like if you're not a better mom, are you an okay mom? You're a bad mom. There's a lot of judgment out there that, like, moms that use cannabis or hemp or now microdosing, there could be judgment that you're a bad mom because you're ingesting these substances from these archaic belief systems that they're drugs, right? Meanwhile, there's
Right.
booze and Chardonnay and beer and
Right.
wine and
That's like
alcohol all over, and
the
that's super prevalent because it's accepted. But this is
mm-hmm.
kind of a new thing, so I'd love to learn about how it more things about how it makes you a better mom. But for anyone that might be on, any moms that might be on the fence of like um using microdosing to contribute to some of the things that you've mentioned, um but might be on the fence because they don't want to be judged, like
Right.
where's your take on that,
Um,
right? Like,
I would say that this, my experience with this hasn't been like taking a drug or drinking alcohol at all. It's, I don't think, I think if you were to take one of these um, capsules and not know that you took it for whatever reason, you wouldn't necessarily feel any different physically, or like, you're not going to hallucinate. You're not going to feel tired or loopy or anything like that,
yeah.
other than your baseline feeling, right? Um, like right now is a perfect example. I told my girls, like, we don't watch TV very often. And I was like, I have a very important phone call. You guys get the tablet. Now they're both here in the kitchen with me. And
Oh,
before I would be like inner panic,
as it
like
goes.
this isn't okay. Like,
We're having
but
fun. I mean, who's your little sidekick here?
this is Allie.
Hi, Allie.
She's two and a
She's
half.
she's waving.
Can you say hi?
Hi,
Hi.
Allie.
And this is Riley. Dad.
Riley, I'm over in
Riley's
Crystal
4.
Bay.
Say hi to
I'm just
Brian.
I'm just on the North
Hi.
Shore in Crystal Bay, and you're in Tahoma.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Um,
Well, it looks like you're doing a great job.
well,
Or
thanks.
so as like, is being a mom full time job for you, or
Yes.
do you work on side or at hobbies or
Um,
anything that passion
I
purpose
do.
that
I
keeps you
have
busy?
a little bit of side work. I do some book work for my older brother. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm involved in their homeschool group programs where they were supposed to be today, but they are under the weather, so I kept them home with me.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, my life pretty much is full-time mom.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it can be overwhelming. You really kind of lose your personal space when you become a mom, and that was also something that was challenging for me. There's like you're constantly touched, you're constantly being pulled on,
You're
poked,
their
hugged, and
caregiver.
it's yeah.
You're their whole world.
Yeah, and it's I'm able to like enjoy those moments more rather than feeling like, okay, I just wanted to sit down and like enjoy my cup of coffee this morning by myself. But then they're like both on my lap and I still have my coffee, and I'm like, okay, well, I get both of it, all of
Yeah,
it,
you get all of
because
it. It's
they're
joyful.
not going to be little forever. And it totally like just switched my perspective. Um, I think to being more optimistic rather than like pessimistic. And I think that part of me is just from my childhood.
Yeah,
Um, that I've had a kind of a
absolutely.
hard time working through as an adult. So
Well,
I
it's
am
good. So it's like you're
very
working through
grateful
it,
to,
and then the little children are being your like little mirrors to work through some
okay.
things. And I like what you said about, you know, oh, I just want to have my coffee alone this morning by myself, have some quiet
Yeah.
time, and then the children are like in your lap and you just completely like surrendered to it, accepted the moment, and you're like, "Oh, I get to do both." Like what a
Yep.
blessing. Like this joyful
Yeah.
abundance of amazingness. I have one on my right,
Exactly.
one on my left, and coffee, and this is a beautiful morning, right? That's like a
Yeah.
massive perspective shift other than like this is just a
I can
now
never sit down.
yeah, now I'm doing just the thing to do the thing. I'm just going to drink all my coffee because that's it, right? And the
Right.
kids are annoying me or whatever it might be. Other people I've talked to, it's a very Buddhist thing about, enjoy those little moments, the moment to moment, right? Concentrate on
Yeah.
the task, the next task will just present itself. And
Hmm.
instead of viewing it from the perspective of this is something I have to do, right? Like now this is something I have to do. I have to console my children while I drink coffee. It's like
Right.
I get to do it. And
Exactly.
those are all those like little perspective shifts that I see happening constantly and I hear happening constantly from folks that are taking the mind's eye product, the mind's eye introspection, and they're paying attention to what's happening, to their internal
Yeah.
environment. And that internal environment is just becoming reflective of their external environment. So you also said uh, you're you're taking the product, but you have someone that is, providing a little bit of guidance or mentorship or mirroring to help with the things that
Yes.
come up. How's that working for you?
It's working really well, and I think it's a great like if you're gonna do this journey with the introspective and this self, the really working on yourself, that it's a great tool to have because there'll be days where I'm like, wow, like today was not my best day. And I'll check in with my mentor and we'll chat and I'll be like, oh, okay, well, I actually did way better than I thought I did. And just having that person to like be vulnerable with and be like, I ran into this situation and I was feeling like this, and this is how I handled it. And then looking back a few minutes later, I could have done this better. And then I got tripped up on, you know, what I thought was a mistake. And then she's like, look at it. You just look at how you were 3 weeks ago. Look at how you were handling this situation. You've made so much progress, and you just get that like guidance and coaching, and it really helps. I think excel, at least for
Yeah,
me, um,
I like hearing
the
that.
process and the learning.
I really like hearing that because the real like healing, change, right? You can't,
Yeah,
nothing changes if nothing changes. And
exactly.
if most people want different, but they don't want to change.
Right.
And sometimes it's hard to
Right.
understand like if we're changing, right? If things are becoming different, and having the mentor is huge because it is that simple perspective shift of, hey, Natalia, look where you were 3 weeks ago. That's not that long ago. And look where you're at now.
Yeah. I mean, 3 weeks ago, right now, I probably would have just walked outside and let them scream and figure it out. So I'm like, I'm interrupting the call, you
This
know.
is great. I love it. You're
What do you need?
you're flowing. I wasn't even
Okay.
able to type an email and talk at the same time. And you're sitting here giving a testimonial and talking about your experience and being a mom, hanging out. So,
Yeah.
uh, well, this has been
It's
great.
just extra challenging because they're not feeling well. So,
Yeah. And uh, as far as any other insights that you'd like to share, would you recommend doing this for 30, 60, 90 days, or
so
any other
I'm
advice to
just
moms out there, mom to mom, or
mom to mom. I say if you're struggling with any sort of like mental, emotional, all the cliche postpartum anxiety, depression. I definitely think that I had postpartum rage with my second. Because I was just angry all the time. Like everything made me angry. Like the dog would
Mm.
bark and I'd be like, why are you barking? And that was, a year and a half ago because I have a 2.5-year-old. But if you're struggling with any of that, give this a try because it has made a world of difference for me. And but even my family members to be like, wow, like, what are you doing? What's different? Like, I see that you're more patient, or I see that you handled that really well. Like
Mm.
those comments coming from my mom, I'm like, oh,
That's
I'm doing
huge.
great. It's huge.
That's great. It's kind of
And
like
I'm just, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, it's kind of like, what does she know that we don't? What is that thing that she might have that we don't have?
Yeah.
Like, it's like the little mystery, or what I always say is like, be the walking billboard, right?
Hmm.
You don't need to broadcast this stuff like, wow, I'm microdosing on, check it out. Like, it's, you just become the person that you want to
Yeah. I
be.
actually am just over 30 days into my journey. And I've been taking a capsule for 5 days and then taking 2 days off. So it hasn't been a straight 30 days. That's the protocol that
Mm-hmm.
I came up with. My
The
um
5 on 2 off.
5 on 2 off. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Uh,
that's the one I like. I call it the medicine box protocol, but it's like
okay.
1 on, 2 off, three off, 4 off, 4 off, 3 off, and really it's all about what works best for you, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And
definitely,
that's worked really well.
yeah, definitely taking the days off cannot stress that enough. And I think might understand why you do 5 on, 2 off. Probably because Monday through Friday is a little bit busy with stuff and things and
Yeah.
schedules, and it's like the less kind of thinking that we have to do. I'm like, oh, am I 1 on, 2 on? What day is it today? Like, that's for
Yeah.
me at least why people ask. And it's like, Saturday, Sunday is a bit more free flowing. Maybe I'll
Hmm.
macrodose. I'm out there doing other things. I'm not so in this
Right.
schedule groove. So that's good. Now, at like the third or fourth day, do you ever feel that does have a diminishing effect after like 3 days? Like, do you ever feel irritable or restless after like maybe like the fourth or fifth day? Because it does work that serotonin receptor, and too much of a good thing can
Right.
deplete, and then we're not enough serotonin, and we're a little bit irritable. From my experience, I've had that happen, so that's when
I
I
think
taper off.
so, but I think with the way my my life schedule is, like you were saying, just the busyness and craziness of it all. Um, for the last 30 days at least. So on top of our regular scheduled activities with the kids, we just moved.
Mm,
And so I think it's been really working really well for me to have that the 2 days off, or only the 2 days off in between. Um, and I also think it's a little bit more of that challenge, like, hey, you're irritated, check in with yourself kind of thing.
yeah.
So I've been able to like learn to work through those things in all different types of
Well,
situations.
that's
Um,
really
if that makes
insightful.
sense.
Yeah, it does. And intuitive of you, and almost breaking away from the conditioning of, I'm feeling irritable right now. So I'm going to actually check in with myself and do some introspection or detective work, instead of like, oh, I must need another microdose.
Yeah.
That's what I was, is like, if there's a dip, which that can be kind of a dip, instead of going and to take another one, it's like, no, you want to actually check in, and maybe that's something to really look at too. Like,
Yeah.
we don't want
Well,
anyone
and every
dependent on
day
these.
when I do take my capsule, I set an intention for the day. Um, and like at first it was like, I'm taking these mushrooms, they're going to help me remain calm and remain patient, because that was like my biggest thing, is like I wasn't calm enough,
Mm,
according to how I wanted to feel.
mm,
And I definitely knew I wasn't patient enough. Um, and not necessarily just with my kids, but like in every situation, like in
yeah.
traffic, or, you know,
Yeah, your
Um,
nervous system's just, dysregulated, and
very.
it's
And
nice to
so
get
I was
get back to
working,
baseline.
yeah, working with my mentor on it. I take the mushrooms with an intention for the day. And then we have an afternoon check-in around 2 o'clock. And then if I need her, she's just a phone call or a text away. I'll be like, I really need help working through the situation, and we can just check in that way.
Love it.
And she told me that like the mushrooms are going to bring up stuff
Oh
for
yeah.
you that you really need to work on, or that you really need to work through.
Yep.
And I think um, with having the 5 day 2 on protocol, or 5 on, sorry, 5 on 2 off protocol, um, at least for the first 30 days, was part of our like intention with the thing, is for me to be able to work through those really challenging situations and learn from
Hmm.
them um, as best that I can. And I am going to continue, I think, at least for 60 days, depending on how I'm feeling at the end of 60, I might go to 90. Um, but we're talking about switching up, like you were saying,
Yeah.
maybe going 3 and 4, 2 and 5,
Perfect.
the opposite.
I love
Yeah.
it. Everybody is different, and every body is different. So, well,
Yes.
Natalia, thank you so much for taking the time today. Time is our
I'm
most
happy to.
valuable asset.
Yes.
And, I appreciate you joining me with this amazing experience that you're having. And have fun over there in Tahoma, and enjoy the rest of this like
Yes. Thank
beautiful
you.
uh, October weather that we're experiencing.
It's been
All right.
amazing. Yes.